So, Steve Malaxos, welcome to the show. Of course, this is a recorded interview. In real time, it's now about 3:20, Saturday, May 14th. East Fremantle is playing Claremont. It's half-time. According to your game plan, where should the Sharks be now?
The game plan, we should be about 10 goals in front, but we're probably not.
Are you also a comedian?
He's the very new coach at East Fremantle. Year one, anxious to do well, and no doubt will. You see, Steve Malaxos is genetically programmed to make his mark. His family comes from Castellorizzo, the island that's given us a state governor, a Lord Mayor, a sports presenter, and many, many more. He's played, he's coached, he's won awards, and he's travelled. Claremont, East Fremantle, Hawthorn, West Coast, Sydney Swans, and the Dockers. You could say that the Malaxos football career is peripatetic. From the Greek, of course.
I played junior football all my life in the Claremont zone. We only lived, a mile, 1.6 k's from almost exactly from Claremont Oval. And I used to go and watch Claremont every single week from when I was about 5 or 6 years of age. And when I mean every single week, I literally mean every week. I never missed a game, even if I was crook. Catch the train to Bassendean, get off at Success Hill or whatever it is, catch the 2 trains to Lathlane Park. And I never missed a game. Claremont weren't all that successful when I was watching them, but I had the thought, I remember vividly, that all I want to do is play one league game for Claremont. And if I played one league game, I would have been happy. I just want to run out there once. And
That's very limiting.
yeah, it was, yeah. But in all seriousness, that was the...
But you did much more than that.
I did, yeah.
Much more than that.
That was my major goal.
Yeah.
And everything else has been way beyond what I ever really dreamed of doing. I actually barracked for Hawthorn, so it was like, wow, I'm going to go to Melbourne and play for the team I barracked for. But yeah, things didn't quite work out as planned. It was one of those years where everything that could go wrong sort of did. Yeah.
You played, what, 9 senior games?
Yeah, I played 9.
What went wrong?
I started off okay, and then I came down with chicken pox. And I played Sydney Swans at the Sydney with chicken pox. And I played just okay, but you judged, no one cares, you judged on how you perform. And then I missed the next couple of weeks, got crook, and it sort of all unravelled from there.
So how do you look back at those Hawthorn years as a failure?
Oh, look, I probably would be remembered by Hawthorn or the wider community as a failure, or certainly a failure. But I've got a more philosophical approach to it. The people I met at Hawthorn during that era, it's held me in good stead for the rest of my life. So in a development of your life sense, it was a real positive. Just the footy side of things didn't really work out. In those days, being captain of the Eagles when I was the captain, it didn't seem a big deal. But now, I think, gee, Darren Glass is the captain. He's like an icon of the state. But yeah, it's a real feather in your cap, I guess, and it helps you. Yeah.
But that captain year didn't end too well either, did it?
No.
What happened there?
It was going well. I ended up having overall a reasonable year. I think I came about 5th in the best and fairest that year.
But you didn't play in the finals.
I played in a couple of finals, but my form started tapering off towards the end. I think fundamentally I just got tired. I think playing midfield all year.
But I'm intrigued by a quote, Steve, that I read about that time.
Yeah.
It said, and things turned sour.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
Probably more to do with the relationship between me and Mick Malthouse at the time.
What was that relationship?
When you're captain, I was captain, he was the coach, you're relatively close to the coach, but Mick's the sort of coach you never, at that point, never really allowed a player to get real close to him. But we had a pretty good relationship, I felt. But the dropping, the nature of it, what occurred around that time, how I handled it, how he handled it, meant that we barely spoke.
How did you handle it?
In a lot of ways, not well. I was disappointed beyond being disappointed, if that makes any sense. I was that disappointed for days I could hardly talk to anyone and didn't want to talk to anyone. So I ended up shutting myself off from a lot of people and friends, and that would try to, in a way, open up, come around for a drink or come around, wanting to catch up for lunch, and I used to say, no, I don't want to. So it was my fault. I shouldn't have been like that, and it would have helped. And also there was no mechanisms at that time in footy for, now when a player gets dropped, there's a support network around the club. An assistant coach will speak to you, might even be the sports psychologist if the club has one, the leadership group. At that time I was basically dropped, and you handle it however you can.
So Malthouse dropped you?
Yeah, it was a Wednesday night, and put it this way, I was in the showers with a few of the players, and one of the players got called out, Dean Irving, and he got dropped. And then I got called out, and as I put the towel around me, I thought, this doesn't sound very promising. And I walked in the room, there was a whole match committee, and that they said you're dropped for these reasons. You know, their honesty and bluntness was something, in retrospect, I respect. So there was no...
So there you are, standing in a towel.
Oh, well, I put a shirt on.
Being told you are dropped.
Dropped from the finals, and not to tell anyone, which was interesting because my parents, or my dad had booked a flight to come over because it was a final, so I was meant not to tell anyone. But I ended up telling my wife and parents, and word leaked out from that. And by Friday, I was in the Nua again because word had leaked out, and Mick called me in on Friday and said he was really disappointed that people had found out that I'd been dropped. So all those, it was a pretty bizarre couple of days, actually, in retrospect.
So how do you get over something like that, which is monumental, really?
Yeah, it is. And I actually never played another game of AFL football. So that day I was dropped, I went from being captain of a team that was in the finals to never playing AFL footy again. I do think back to it from time to time, and probably a little bit like Hawthorn, I sort of put it in its compartment and philosophise about it a bit, and think it's just one of those things in life that you try and learn from. And certainly as a coach, the one thing I have learned is if I do drop a player, I'll try to be as communicative as possible.
Which did not happen with you?
Not at that time.
Did Malthouse tell you anything?
I told me the reasons why I was dropped.
Which were?
They were playing on a big ground, and I wasn't the quickest player going around, and they needed to load the side up with pace on a big ground. We were playing at West Coast were playing at Waverley.
Yeah, but that's just not playing in one team. You were actually dropped then completely. Yeah,
well, they won easily, and didn't change winning team, and then I think they'd moved on. I was there over pre-season, but they'd moved on in how they were thinking about the team. So it was, I think deep down they probably thought I was still a reasonable player, but in how they wanted to develop the side, they'd moved on from how I played. So it was a little bit circumstantial, but now coaching, I can relate more to.
You've learned from that.
I've learned from that, and I can relate more to what the selectors and what Mick were thinking. Yeah, the 2000s, if you like, have been the least successful in East Fremantle's history. We won a premiership in that period, and we haven't won a final for about 8 or 9 years. So it's really about delivering a more successful, or helping deliver a more successful period, and keeping a balance with developing our young players. We've got a great record for developing young players and getting them drafted, so making sure that still occurs.
But there are degrees of success, Steve.
Yes.
What is the achievement for this year that you've said, I can get you?
We're aiming to play finals and win finals, yeah.
Good luck.